Welcome to 33 Minutes. Today I'll be talking to Martin Faulks, the General Manager of Lewis Masonic, the world's oldest Masonic publisher. Martin is internationally known as a meditation master and author. He has a black belt in Japanese Ninjutsu and the Korean martial art of Kuk Sool Won. He is a three-time UK martial arts champion and a regional fencing champion. He has dedicated his life to the study of mind sciences and meditation. Welcome to 33 Minutes. Hey Martin, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. How are you? Tell me.
I'm doing wonderfully. I think it's a really lovely heat wave we're having here in England. And
Yes.
I like to be outside, so it's just right for me. For me, variation in weather's really good.
Yes.
People say, what's your favorite time of year? And I like them all.
I would say I like summer, but then again, it depends where I would be. Like, I do prefer London during the winter. I think when it gets too hot in the summer, it's too much to handle almost, you know? It's very much. So Martin, you're known internationally as a meditation master.
Yes, my dedication in life, my calling in life has been towards the disciplines of meditation and the associated arts.
Yes.
So what I really find interesting is human potential. How
Yes.
much are we capable of? And how can we best use what we've been given? I believe that both mentally and physically, we have a lot more potential than we allow ourselves to have.
Sure.
So my life has been a quest to find the lessons and the teachings which could unlock this hidden potential. Not just to do big exciting things, but also just to make sure that you can live life to the full. It's a great gift that we want to be able to fully utilize and to be of the best possible service to the world and others while we're here.
Yes, I truly believe that most people they only operate on a small part of their potential. Like, how are some of the ways which you would recommend to people to unlock their true potential and understanding their purpose?
Well, I think the first thing is to start to really embrace the opportunity. So we're all here for a limited amount of time, and a lot of us don't really want to think in those terms. We tend to feel like we'll be here forever, and certainly act like we'll be here forever.
Yes.
And I think embracing the opportunity we've got to live a valuable life and to view each moment as precious is the beginning. Then from that embracing of the situation as it is, we're born here, we've got this limited physical body which has a limited amount of time. We've got our mind with its own wonderful abilities, but also with its own limitations.
Yes.
How are you going to express you in this world? And not just for your own fulfillment, but for the best possible effect on the world. And then we start to look at our own improvement. And there's many different expressions of human nature. Everyone has to find their own way. But there are tools that can help you do whatever you want to do better. Now, when people think about meditation, they tend to think in terms of the Orient. don't they? And in that wonderful biography, which you kindly listed, you talked a lot about the Oriental studies.
Yes.
And these Oriental studies tend to be centered around an idea of enlightenment.
Sure.
Enlightenment, the idea of being able to see things in a more clear way and be able to see things how they really are. Some people looking at this this interview may be very interested to hear that there was a equivalent kind of concept in the Western traditions. They had a different word for it. They call it eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
So eudaimonia means human flourishing.
Eudaimonia is commonly translated as happiness or welfare. However, human flourishing is a more accurate translation. In Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he explains how to flourish through cultivating human virtues.
You've got the right environment. You've got the right friends. Let's imagine you have the right beliefs. And let's imagine how this could amplify. All these small things start to feed. Goodness begets goodness.
Yes.
The right clothes, the right skills. This idea of eudaimonia would lead to that correct vision as well, so you can see the world in a truthful way.
Yes.
Now, what's exciting about this Western view is it can make you challenge how this could be done. Often we see people on spiritual paths wanting to take time away to dedicate themselves completely to their practice, so they cut off from the world.
Yes.
If we look at this concept of eudaimonia, where everything needs to be flourishing and everything is at one, it starts to seem a bit illogical to cut yourself off from the world where you are at one with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the embracing that opportunity then leads to a goal. And this eudaimonia may be a more comprehensive goal than what comes into mind for most people when they think about enlightenment. Enlightenment probably for most people doesn't have the opportunity for individual expression or for remaining in the world. So the next step there may be imagining your own eudaimonia. What do you think yours may be like, James? You don't have to share it with us now, but you could picture it in your mind's eye. What friends, what work, what reading, what would you need to put into your mind to get the best out of it? Where would you be for this? This clarification of the your own goal, your own how you would flourish, is a really important part of the process, and this can require great honesty and sometimes great bravery. So I've seen people who they went through the whole education in England, and at the end of it, they went and worked in a distant country, and they were brave enough to leave all the friends behind and move to an environment where they could flourish beautifully. How amazing to have that clear vision.
They had no distraction from anywhere else.
Well, it was the environment. They managed to match themselves to the environment, the place where their roots would grow.
Yeah, sure.
Now, it's also worth being straight here is that actually that could change. As you grow, your vision of the ideal will grow as well.
Sure.
And that vision is quite interesting. One thing I've noted, which is really beautiful, is there is some natural mechanism in people that tends to choose the cure for what they're trying to overcome as their goal. So if you meet someone and they're far too emotional and they're all over the place, their vision of an enlightened person will be some kind of emotionless Zen master, like a Spock character. Whereas if you meet someone who their heart is a bit closed and they're fighting to engage with the world, they'll probably imagine a warm sort of Buddhist bodhisattva who hugs people, or Santa Claus style Christians saying they'll have someone very open-hearted and beautiful. And so the goal starts to balance, your vision of the goal starts to balance as you start to balance. I think that's a lovely part of it. So we mustn't be scared to change our vision, and also be aware that it's different for different people.
Yes.
One thing I once saw was a study on a mental illness that showed something really remarkable. People, when asked directly to rate themselves as to where they're doing their mental health, are actually remarkably accurate. So even people who are in very hard places and are very confused over other matters, if you ask them straight, how are you doing with your mental health, they'll more or less rate themselves the same as an independent psychiatrist would. They might give some strange reasons why they're in that position.
Sure.
But they're very good at that. And I think that we've got an inherent wisdom in us, which gives us that target if we're willing to listen for it, and an inherent wisdom that tells us where we are with things as well, if we're willing to listen to it.
Martin, in our current time, a lot of young people are using social media all the time, and we're seeing more young people becoming depressed and becoming reliant on social media. Like, what advice would you give to young people and how they could use certain things like meditation or other things to deal with anxiety or depression?
Okay, well, this is a perfect question to follow up from our first. So the first question was, how would we start? And to summarize what I said, we start by accepting that we have a limited time here.
Yes.
And then moving to wanting to find our own way to make the most of it. You talked about some of the challenges and opportunities of the modern age in social media.
Sure.
Social media is a beautiful opportunity to communicate with people and to be with the right people for you to flourish.
Yes.
It is also, unfortunately, set up deliberately to encourage communication, and it uses all the social drivers and methods of social pressure possible to keep you engaged. So if you get a message on, let's say, a certain social media platform, it flashes up and you can see that the person sent you a message. When you click on that, they can see that you've seen it. So now you know that they've seen it. Most people have a mobile device on them that gives them a message that tells them when someone's updated their status, and gives them messages when they've had some kind of response or approval to their own.
Yes.
So the challenge here is to use this social media, but not be used by it. You want the social media to be helping you with your flourishing, your self-mastery, your achievements, not go against it. And this means you do need to manage it. So I'll tell you what I do, and then I can give you some general advice from that experience.
Yes.
I limit my correspondence on social media to a specific time every day. I don't have any alerts on my phone or on any other mobile device. I really want to engage fully with the world while I'm here. Want to be in the moment. So if I'm talking to you now, or we're having a cup of tea together, I want to be fully centered on you.
Yes.
I want to be pulled into these things. I want to be cultivating a laser-like focus and a high level of awareness. I want to be judging my words as precise as possible and making the most skillful and efficient actions. This distraction, I believe, is going to be counterproductive, and I think I could draw me into different motives, doing things for the attention that they get or the approval from others, drawing into communication from people where I'm on demand.
Yes.
This is like a pager, but it's a pager to anyone in the world that I know that wants to talk to me. So I view these more like responding to an email or a letter. So I'll sit down at that time and I'll do texts, emails, Facebook, letters, all in a row.
Yes.
And I'll make sure that each one of those communications is as thought through, effective, powerful, and competent as possible. And then I'll look at the statuses and what's going on with other people or a group or something I'm interested in as part of that routine.
Yes.
My goal is always to cut back with things. I want to have the highest quality of communication, the highest quality of content, not the highest quantity.
Sure.
And this takes great discipline in the modern world because no one else is set up to do this. Everyone else will send you a message and they'll say, hello, do you want to meet later today?
Yes.
Why are you not responding? Right, okay. And so people around you will learn to phone you if it's urgent. They will. And you will need to make people aware of that. But we must remember that the reward is so much better. We only have a limited amount of time. And we need to utilize it. We need to utilize it to the full. One other danger of social media, which I think is connected with other things, and this is part of my own personal philosophy, is that it can replace something more real and more valuable.
Sure.
So let's imagine that you and I, in our hearts, we want to be genuinely respected. I mean, that's a good wish. We want to be a person of such high caliber that we can set a good example and that people genuinely respect us. That urge is in most of us. It could get redirected into a slightly confused version of it, which is to be the most famous or get the most likes. And I think this is a tendency in all of us that we need to be careful of, is that we're clever enough as a race to come up with cheap alternatives to genuine fulfillment.
Sure.
So we could have friends that we see every couple of evenings and be really engaged with them. So it could be, let's imagine you're a musician. You've got 2 or 3 friends that live nearby, and one at a sort of slight distance, but you all know each other well enough that every week you get together and you play musical instruments together and you debate and you really engage and you've got each other's backs in the world, you're really good friends, that is probably what you'd want. Maybe you're not a musician, maybe you're a deep thinker and you like fine art and you like wine and philosophy.
Yes.
You really want a circle of friends, whether maybe one or two within the journey, maybe you're corresponding with someone at distance, maybe you have video messages, but you want those friends. This can be replaced in a confused way. You could watch TV shows where friendship groups like that exist. So it kind of fulfills you.
Yes.
So you want friends, but you're watching friends on TV instead. And you know all the characters' names, you know what's going on with them, and you want to tune in next week. Why do you want to tune in? Because you miss them and you're interested. A friendship is an ongoing positive interest in someone's life. And you've got that, but it's for a fictional person on TV, but you don't know what your next door neighbor's name is. And
Yes.
that's a very common circumstance. So with social media, we need to make sure it doesn't go into that bracket. It's replacing real, genuine interaction and replacing building genuine allies. So use that social media. Don't let it use you.
Yeah.
As far as now, we've touched on the television there. This is not to say there isn't something inspirational that you could find on television if you are of great discipline. I don't personally have a television, but I have seen very inspirational things before.
Martin, you live a very, very strict lifestyle. You, as you said, you're very disciplined. You have a strict diet as well. You abstain from alcohol. I remember I saw the video on your channel about your daily diet. So when you wake up, you have a intermittent fast, and then you start the day with a coffee, and then you have. Can you tell us more about your diet? Because Martin, you're now 42 years old, right?
I am. Well, just
You,
coming up there. So discipline for me is the most positive and maybe even loving thing you can do for yourself.
yes.
So you're valuing your life enough and you're valuing the world around you enough to put things into place so that you are a force of goodness and harmony. And for that reason, I do live a very dedicated life.
Yes.
Now, when I was younger, things used to be very much done by will. That's very interesting. So when I got up in the morning, I always get up first thing, and it used to require effort. As life unfolded, something changed. Now it's through genuine inspiration. It's quite interesting. It's all effortless now. So I always get up at 7 o'clock, and I always have a routine to get ready for the day, which does involve training and does involve meditation. With diet, I've been fine-tuning things for many years. And I've actually found that some things need, for what I'm aiming at, need to be let go of. So like with alcohol or caffeine, I believe you need to be cautious about these because they train you to have that mind state. So someone who's drinking coffee all the time, they become like the coffee.
Yes.
Or they're very full of energy, they become more aggressive, become impatient. And after a while, they're like the coffee without the coffee. And the same is true with alcohol. In my own experience, I noticed that if I drank alcohol, the next day I could see when I was trying to fine tune certain things in my meditation was holding me back. So I believe that these things should be kept as special occasions.
Yes.
If you're a kind of person that can just do special occasions. So there are some of us who are a bit more excitable with things, and one unit isn't going to happen. That coffee will lead to one the next day because you've covered up something and you've moved yourself into a situation where there's still less recovery.
Yes.
Now, this leads us back to the same thing. Remember I said about cheap alternatives? You want the real thing. So if you look at coffee or caffeine or an energy drink, really what you want is recovery. You want to be sleeping better. You want to have natural energy. But you move your gears artificially using this, and it's borrowed, isn't it? It's borrowed from somewhere. So you need 2 coffees the next day. With alcohol, I know some people who are so naturally playful in their nature that when others drink and they don't, you can't tell the difference. And I think alcohol does different things with different people. Some people want stillness from it.
Yes.
Some people want frivolity. For me, I think, wow, let's find that genuinely. Let's see if we can find it in a genuine way. So I think this is a gift that you can give to yourself. And if you are wanting to perfect your consciousness, be very cautious about anything that artificially switches it. You can't gain control by habitually relinquishing it, if that makes sense, to these states.
Martin, it's 33 minutes, so we're moving quite fast. Actually, we're moving very fast. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about Freemasonry and your new book, The Art of Memory.
Well, so the art of memory. In order to understand memory, we need to know that the term art of memory used to have a different meaning in the time when it was popularized and when Freemasonry was kind of forming during the enlightenment and around the years before that. So memory in ancient times was seen as something not only that you could use to maintain information from the past, but it was also anything that you created in your mind was a memory. Yes. So that's quite interesting. So even if you plan something, just a formation in consciousness, that's a memory. And it had some different associations. So just like nowadays, we might believe that creative visualization or hypnosis, self-hypnosis could change you. It used to be believed that memory practice could change you. So the idea is whatever you put into your mind can change your mind. It can change who you are. And we all know this to some degree, don't we? We see other people who they learn a foreign language and they start to change. They start to become more like that culture. And I believe there have been some studies that show the way you think is changed by the grammar you've got.
Yes. Your
mind utilizes everything you put into it. So the art of memory was a practice whereby you'd use it to learn information, but you'd also use it to change who you are. Now, we talked about social media, we talked about television. What you put into your mind is very important. And this art of memory was a form of meditation, a practice whereby you would put the correct blessings within yourself. So let's imagine right now, if you could invite into you kindness, if you could press firmly into your heart compassion. But what if you could go further, not just putting emotional competence, but you could put intellectual competence? What if you were to memorize all the principles of logic so that your mind could access them easily? So it's memorized just in the right way so that you could raise your consciousness. Would you be like Sherlock Holmes? Would you be superhumanly perceptive? What would happen to someone who could upgrade their consciousness consciously like that? Well, this is what the very art of memory aimed to do. And the book, The Mosaic Palace, is about how Freemasonry really evolved from this art, the idea of remembering things in the right way to become a more virtuous and more competent person. And it may be of interest to anyone who's interested in human potential or someone interested in Masonic history. And there is a sequel, which is by reservation only. So you can only get a copy if you reserve one in advance, which is actually a manual, a memory manual from the Hermetic tradition from the 1500s by a student of the famous mnemonic magus Giordano Bruno, a Scotsman called Alexander Dixon. We can put the links to these books below.
Yes,
But also,
for all of the viewers, they will have all the links below for Martin's page and for Martin's YouTube channel as well. So I encourage you all to have a look, to check out he has some really informative videos on there. So everything will be in the description.
And hopefully by bringing this art back to life, by helping us all to remember this art.
A Mosaic Place, Freemasonry and the Art of Memory, the new book by Martin Faulks, is now available on Amazon and Lewis Masonic, the world's oldest Masonic publisher. Like, to all of the viewers, we have all the links in the description. Please do check out Martin's new book on his YouTube page. Martin, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful talking, James.
Thank you.